Good morning, friends and neighbors. It's a beautiful day today in the Okanagan Highlands, and you are looking at American steel. Each one of these axes and hatchets have one thing in common, and that is that I paid $10 or less for each one of them. And I'm going to tell you how you can find these this spring, get them handled up, put them to good use in your woodshed. Welcome to the first episode of Woodshed Wednesdays, and today I have with me all these nice little garage sale finds here. My latest one is this sweet little Plum Kindling hatchet, which I'm going to restore later in the video and show you how that's done. Woodshed Wednesday is take this little Plum Camp hatchet up to the shop and give it some love and see if we can get this handle fitted on here properly, get it cleaned up, and see if we can save that handle and turn this into a reliable tool. First thing we're going to need to do is drill some of that wedge out of there and try to loosen this handle up enough to where we can get it to slide off, because I do want to try to save it. And I can put a little towel in the jaws of the vise there. Well, there is one hatchet here that is actually a Swedish hatchet, and when I found this, it was literally a ball of rust. The head didn't have any visible logo on there. It was accompanied by this classy little duct tape handle, complete with a wind flapper there. This handle is pretty shot. I like to save these old handles because some of them are really nice. I have some pictures of this. This is a Holtz Brook Kindling hatchet. I have some photos of this in its original shape. I gave it a vinegar bath. I soaked it in a small container full of white vinegar for 2 hours. And then I took a wire brush to it, peeled off the surface layer of rust, and then I put it back for another vinegar soak. After a little bit of soaking, I could start seeing some markings on here. This says 06, 1 1/4. And on the other side is the faint remains of the Holtz Brook logo. So I really knew I had something nice. I also, after I took the handle off this, I tapped it with the back of my pocket knife, and you could hear that steel ring. And I knew it was really good steel. So I took it down to the hardware store. I found this handle down there for $8.95. I'd like to tell you there is an easy way to get these old handles off here, but every one of them is a new adventure. This time I have a piece of wood dowel, which got it started anyhow. Yeah, I'm not going to try not to drill it out too much because I want to try to save that old handle. It's a really cute little handle. A couple days ago I found this Plum hatchet. This was at an antique store, kind of a variety store. This head is in pretty good shape, and the lady wanted $10 for it. It has a really cool handle. I'm going to try to save this handle because it has a really nice palm swell. It's in pretty good shape. There's no cracks or splinters, and it's still straight. It's really badly split at the top though, so I'm going to have to try seating the head down a little bit further and making the cut deeper and putting an oversized wood wedge in there with lots of glue and a metal wedge to try to hold that head on there. I'm probably going to try to get that done before the end of the video, so you can see how it turns out. Well, we really love to hit the garage sales and the flea markets and the secondhand stores. And one day, a couple summers ago, I went to the back area back there, the outside area where they have all the broken down lawnmowers and garden tools and things like that. And I found a pail back there, and it had some tool heads in there. And one of them was this huge axe head. This was covered in rust. And I looked at it and I saw that it was a nice wedge-shaped axe head, and picked it up. And then I found this other one here, a double bit. It didn't have any chips in it. It had an old handle on it that was painted orange. This head looked pretty straight. It's a nice bow tie double bitted axe. And I took these two heads up to the guy at the counter and I said, I could use a couple heads and make some handles for them. How much do you want for them? And the guy said, well, how about 10 bucks a piece, $20 for the pair. So I did. I got those nice axes. I put new handles on them. And I got each of these. This thing here turned out to be a Norland Splitting Axe. It's a 5-pound axe, and this thing is wicked. You can just bust the hugest, knottiest, old gnarly pieces of wood with that. I put a 30-inch handle on it because I use this at the chopping block for a house axe. Some of our wood is kind of tough to split, but you can bust firewood down into smaller pieces with this, and also split planks for kindling with it real easily. Well, that was easier than most. And the next thing I'm going to do is take a little dovetail saw and clean up this notch. I'm going to make it a little deeper as well. There's still some of the wedge that's in there. Some of it came out pretty easily. I think they might have glued it in there, so I'm going to carefully clean this up, get it ready for a new wedge. Well, we got most of that wedge out of there. Still pretty ugly, but I think we can fix it up. The next thing I do is take some 100 grit sandpaper. I'm going to remove all the dirt and grime off this handle. There may be a few marks left in it because I don't want to go too deep. I don't want to change the thickness of the handle if I can help it. But just want to freshen up that hickory and open up the grain so it'll accept a nice coating of boiled linseed oil when we're finished here. You can tell that's really helping already. It's like a 100-year layer of grease and grime on this thing. One thing you'll want to do when you're looking at hatchets and axes is the shape of the profile. You can see, like on this Holtz Brook, it's very thick and wedge shaped there. Great for splitting. This Warren Old Faithful is nice and thin. This would make a great camp hatchet. Great for carving and doing some chopping. Plus it has a nail puller on it. So this is a great camp or scout hatchet. And then some hatchets are just really good all-purpose hatchets. This one's a Dunlap. That's an old Sears brand. I picked this up in a barn, and that was a barn find. I think I got 10 bucks in this with a handle and everything. Some of these heads are so rusty when you find them, you can get them for a couple of bucks. But this one's not in too bad a shape and still shows some of its original paint, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the plan is, since the top here is so buggered up, I'm going to try to seat it down a little bit further on this handle so I can cut back into fresher wood here when I trim it off. I don't have far to go down that shoulder before I run out of shoulder, so I can only go back about 1/4 of an inch. I hope to get that far, and then I think we can get a pretty good hang on this. There is some writing on the handle right there. I can't quite make out what that says. I don't know. The head says Plum on it, and that might be what that says on there, but it's kind of hard to tell. I think it does say Plum. You can see that old line where the head came. I'm just going to take it back just a little bit further. So searching for good steel is kind of like a treasure hunt, and it can be really addicting and a lot of fun. There's a few tricks you might want to try when you're out there. For one thing, it's tough to get a price tag to stick to rusty metal of any kind. So a lot of times you're going to find these heads, they're going to be laying in a bucket of dust and rust. So the price on these is negotiable. So how do you recognize a good axe head? I do it, I play it like a musical instrument. If it doesn't have a handle on especially, you can hold the head at the top here and let it hang and strike the metal down here, and it should let out a nice ring like a bell, sort of like a good quality blacksmith's anvil. You can hear the difference. If you tap on this end, this is not tempered on this end, but out here it should sound hard as a rock. If it didn't have this handle in here, it would ring like a bell, like a cymbal. So that's a good way to tell. You can study some of these logos that some of the better axe makers over the years have used. They do a cold stamp. Some of them have embossing. Any American axes with an embossing, like this Colonial Liberty Bell axe, it has embossing on there. It's a little beat up, but I knew that was a good quality axe because they wouldn't have spent the time to put such a nice pattern on the side there. And it does have a good steel in it. It sharpens up really nice. It's a wicked axe for splitting. It has a lot of weight behind it. Well, let's give this head a light sanding just to remove some of that crust off there. I didn't find any 220 grit. That's usually what I like to use. But I do have some 150, which shouldn't be too bad. And we'll just give it a lick and a promise. We don't want to do anything serious to it. It isn't that bad. A little bit of rust. Now I am getting down into I can see some paint there. And got rid of most of the rust. And I can see that somebody's been sharpening this thing. It's got a lot of different angle grinds on it. So I'm going to take it out back and put it on the sander. Straighten that edge up before we put the handle on it. So let's say you do find an axe you want to restore. It's covered in rust. What do you do about it? Well, that depends a lot on the axe itself. For example, this head here isn't rusted up too bad at all. I think I would just hit that with some light sandpaper and put a new edge on it and call it good. It's nice to have a good protective patina on that metal, because if you take it down to bare metal with sandpaper or wire brush, it's going to be subject to rusting all over again. Oh. A sharp axe is a good axe. I like to try to look at the hardware stores for good hickory. And some of the local hardware stores where I live have hickory from House Handle, which I really like to look through. Hickory handles get picked through pretty fast. I look for a good handle that has vertical grain orientation. And I like thinner handles because I don't have really huge hands. I don't want them too thin either because they might break. These are some hardware store handles that I recently found for about $9 that were perfect for some axe heads that I had laying around waiting for good hickory. There's another one. I don't know if you can see that. Grain's really nice. I gave it a little flame treatment. I got a little bit carried away, but that's supposed to harden the wood there and protect it from the sun's UV damage. If you don't find any good hickory handles at your local hardware store, be sure to give House Handle a call. I'll leave their link in the description below. They have some great handles, and for a small fee they'll pick out some of the better ones and send you. They have different grades of handles. I would always go with the best grade A handles if you can, if they have them in stock. But House Handles have been a great company to deal with, and I've gotten some great handles from them in the past. Okay, things are looking pretty good. I got the handle pretty close. Got the head sharpened, sanded up, reground the edge. I think I'll take that hickory outside and hit it with a torch real quick just to make it look a little pretty. Well, friends, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Woodshed Wednesdays here at the homestead. I want to send out all my good wishes to you. Until next time, this is over and out from the West Fork Woodsman channel.